Have you ever wondered if your soul existed before your birth? What if the challenges you're facing today are actually part of a much larger journey that spans across many lifetimes? These questions might seem profound, even unsettling, but according to one of history's most documented psychics, they're at the heart of understanding our true purpose. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Edgar Cayce, often referred to as the sleeping prophet, left behind an extraordinary legacy of 14,000 documented readings that continue to baffle scientists and spiritual seekers alike. What makes these readings so remarkable isn't just their volume, but their consistent depth and accuracy when discussing matters beyond our physical reality, past lives, future potentials, and the eternal journey that each soul undertakes. But who was this man who could apparently access universal knowledge while in a self-induced sleep state? And why decades after his death do his insights about reincarnation and soul purpose still resonate with so many people around the world? Has this ever happened to you? You meet someone and feel an immediate connection as if you've known them before. Or perhaps you visited a place for the first time, yet experienced an overwhelming sense of familiarity. According to Cayce's readings, these moments aren't coincidences, but glimpses into the soul's broader experience, echoes of relationships and experiences that transcend our current lifetime. What's particularly fascinating about Cayce's work is how practical his spiritual insights were. Far from abstract philosophical concepts, his readings emphasized that the soul's purpose is fundamentally about growing closer to the Creator through life's lessons. Each challenge we face, each relationship we navigate, each talent we develop, all are opportunities for the soul to evolve. Stay with me until the end, because what we're about to explore goes beyond mere metaphysical curiosity. The implications of Cayce's work suggest that our daily choices have consequences that extend far beyond this lifetime, and that understanding the patterns of our soul's journey can transform how we approach our current life circumstances. Imagine for a moment that your life isn't just a random collection of experiences, but rather a carefully crafted curriculum designed specifically for your soul's growth. What if, as Cayce suggested, life truly is a classroom where we learn essential lessons of patience, forgiveness, and service? How might this perspective change the way you view your current struggles or relationships? What you're about to discover might surprise you, especially if you've never considered the possibility that your soul has been on a much longer journey than your current lifetime suggests. Because according to the sleeping prophet's extensive readings, each of us carries wisdom, talents, and even challenges from previous incarnations. If this message spoke to you, hit subscribe and join a community of souls seeking truth and purpose. When you've spent countless lifetimes learning the tough lessons this physical world offers, something remarkable begins to happen. The boundaries between your spiritual understanding and practical daily life start to dissolve. This integration isn't about performing rituals or speaking spiritual jargon. It manifests as a natural congruence between what you believe and how you actually live. I've observed people who embody this integration, and there's something unmistakably different about them. They don't compartmentalize their spirituality for special occasions or sacred spaces. Instead, their spiritual awareness infuses every mundane decision, from how they speak to strangers to how they handle conflict or disappointment. The material world becomes neither an enemy to overcome nor a temptation to resist, but simply another dimension of the sacred experience. This journey toward integration creates a profound inner harmony that's visible to others, even if they can't quite name what they're seeing. It's like watching someone dance with life rather than struggle against it. There's a fluidity, a grace that emerges when the artificial division between spiritual and material dissolves. Now, I want to go even deeper into this transformation by exploring what Cayce called the flowering of compassion and detachment, perhaps the most telling revelation of spiritual maturity. This isn't the compassion we're taught as children, a kind of obligatory niceness or sympathy. This is compassion that emerges organically, like water flowing from a spring, requiring no effort or thought. When you encounter someone exhibiting this quality, you'll notice they rarely judge others, even when confronted with behavior most would condemn. Their kindness extends naturally to everyone they meet, not as a performance or moral obligation, but as an authentic expression of their inner reality. They see through the illusions that separate us, recognizing the shared journey we're all navigating. Perhaps even more telling is the quality of detachment that accompanies this compassion. This isn't cold indifference, but rather a profound liberation from the grip of personal ambition and the exhausting need to control outcomes. These souls have released the desperate clinging to specific results that causes so much suffering in most lives. They've discovered a freedom that allows them to serve without expectation, to love without demands, to contribute without needing recognition. The ego's agenda gradually fades into the background, replaced by a simpler question: how can I be of service here? This shift represents a monumental evolution in consciousness. From the self-centered focus that drives most human activity to a broader perspective that sees beyond personal gain or loss. If you recognize these qualities developing in yourself, even in small moments or specific areas of your life, you might be witnessing the early signs of this spiritual ripening. Drop a comment below with the words, "I recognize this flowering," if you've experienced these moments of integration and compassion in your own journey. Now, I want to go even deeper into this profound understanding of our spiritual evolution. When a soul begins to truly recognize unity among all souls, we're witnessing something extraordinary. This isn't just about saying we're all one as a philosophical concept, it's experiencing it as lived truth. These advanced souls naturally transcend the superficial boundaries that divide humanity, race, religion, social status, seeing instead the essential spiritual thread connecting all beings. It's a transformation of perception, where the otherness that defines so much of human experience begins to dissolve. They don't just intellectually understand unity, they feel it viscerally in their interactions with everyone they meet. What's fascinating is how this awareness manifests in daily life. These souls often become natural bridge builders in communities, the ones who can speak to different groups and find common ground. They experience a genuine sense of loss when witnessing division and conflict, because they perceive it as harm to a unified whole rather than simply other people's problems. Subscribe now and walk with us as we explore more of Edgar Cayce's wisdom and the soul's journey. As for the balancing of karma, the journey here is equally revealing. Advanced souls approach their remaining karmic lessons with a fundamentally different mindset. Where earlier incarnations might have experienced challenges with resistance, victimhood, or confusion, these souls demonstrate remarkable clarity. They recognize the hidden purpose behind difficult experiences almost immediately, embracing them as the final refinements of their spiritual development. This doesn't mean their lives become effortless. Quite the opposite. Many complete their karmic balance through intensely challenging circumstances. The difference lies in their relationship to these challenges. There's an acceptance, even a strange appreciation for the difficulties they face. They understand on a deep level that these experiences aren't random or punitive, but precisely calibrated completions of long-standing lessons. The revelations these souls share about karma often challenge conventional spiritual thinking. They describe karma not as cosmic punishment, but as a brilliantly designed educational system, one that's reaching its conclusion in their experience. They recognize patterns across lifetimes with increasing clarity, seeing how certain relationships or situations have evolved toward resolution. Perhaps most striking is how these souls approach their remaining karmic balances with intentionality rather than avoidance. They seem drawn toward completing unfinished business, sometimes even consciously seeking out difficult situations that others might reasonably avoid, knowing intuitively these experiences contain the keys to their final liberation. If anything about this explanation resonates with your own spiritual understanding or experiences, write "Karma is education" in the comments. Now let's examine another critical marker that Newton identified in his research. The true hallmark of a mature soul preparing to complete its earthly curriculum is the sincere and continuous surrender to divine will. This isn't about occasional spiritual moments or Sunday morning revelations. It's about a profound inner alignment that permeates every decision. When you consistently place divine guidance above your personal desires, you're demonstrating a fundamental shift in consciousness that suggests spiritual graduation may be approaching. This surrender doesn't mean becoming passive in life. Rather, it represents a profound inner transformation where your will gradually aligns with universal principles. You find yourself naturally asking, what serves the highest good, rather than, what do I want? This shift isn't forced. It emerges organically as your consciousness expands. Many spiritual traditions speak of this surrender using different language, but the essence remains the same. The ego's grip loosens as the soul's wisdom strengthens. Seekers often describe this as a feeling of coming home to their authentic purpose, where resistance dissolves and flow becomes the natural state. The journey to this alignment typically involves periods of intense challenge. These challenges aren't random obstacles, they're precisely calibrated opportunities for your soul's growth. Each time you choose alignment with higher principles during difficult moments, you're essentially communicating to the universe your readiness to graduate beyond certain lessons. Now, I want to go even deeper into how we approach these 5 signs altogether. Cayce emphasized repeatedly that these indicators aren't meant as judgments or spiritual scorecards. They're reflective tools, mirrors that allow us to witness our own evolution with compassion and clarity. The moment we use them to measure our worth or compare ourselves to others, we've missed their purpose entirely. This introspective approach reveals the hidden truth behind spiritual evolution. It's not linear or competitive. Your soul's journey has its own unique rhythm and timeline that can't be rushed or manipulated. What matters isn't checking boxes, but developing authentic self-awareness. When you sit quietly with these reflections, you might notice resistance arising within you. This resistance itself contains valuable information about where your growth opportunities lie. Perhaps you feel uncomfortable with the idea of detachment from earthly outcomes, or maybe the concept of surrendering to divine will triggers fears about losing control. These reactions aren't failures, they're revelations about your current relationship with existence. By observing them with curiosity rather than judgment, you invite profound inner dialogue that accelerates your spiritual development. The ultimate purpose of these signs isn't to determine whether you're graduating soon. It's to deepen your relationship with your own consciousness, to illuminate the path you're already walking, and to gently guide your awareness toward what matters most. If any of these signs resonated deeply with you or brought clarity to your spiritual journey, write soul recognition in the comments. I'd love to know which aspects of this teaching mirror your own inner knowings. Now, the journey of a soul nearing the end of its reincarnation cycle enters truly fascinating territory. These advanced souls often face what spiritual teachers call the final tests, challenges that are remarkably different from earlier stages, while younger souls struggle with obvious temptations like greed or anger. Old souls encounter something far more subtle and insidious: spiritual pride. This pride manifests in curious ways. Imagine spending thousands of years evolving, learning compassion, developing wisdom, and then subtly beginning to feel superior to those who haven't reached your level. It's the spiritual equivalent of the student who's mastered the basics and begins to look down on newcomers. Cayce noted that this sense of spiritual superiority becomes one of the final hurdles many souls must overcome. What makes this challenge particularly tricky is its disguise. It often masquerades as enlightenment itself. The soul believes it has arrived, when in fact, true transcendence remains elusive precisely because of this belief. It's a paradoxical trap. The moment you think you've completed the journey is the moment you prove you haven't. This revelation transforms how we might view some spiritually advanced individuals in our world. Perhaps those who demonstrate the most profound humility, those who refuse pedestals and recognition, are actually the closest to completing their cycles. There's something profoundly moving about recognizing that the truly evolved soul might be the person quietly serving others without any need for acknowledgement. Cayce's guidance on this matter reflects a timeless wisdom that applies regardless of where you believe you are in your soul's journey. He consistently advised people to engage fully with life, rather than becoming preoccupied with questions about whether this might be their last life. Such preoccupation, he suggested, creates a mindset focused on completion rather than purpose. And purpose is what ultimately drives spiritual growth. The hidden truth here is beautiful in its simplicity. When we live with purpose, rather than fear or attachment to outcomes, we naturally align with our highest path. Every moment becomes sacred, not because it might be our last incarnation, but because it's a divine opportunity for growth and service. This mindset shift creates a profound internal transformation that ripples outward into everything we do. Consider how differently you might approach your daily interactions if you viewed each one as part of your soul's grand journey. That difficult colleague, the challenging family member, the unexpected obstacle, all become teachers rather than problems. The spiritual journey shifts from seeking escape from the cycle to embracing its perfect design. The depth of Cayce's wisdom emerges when we realize he wasn't just offering comforting theories, but practical navigation tools for the soul's evolution. His insights reveal that the conclusion of reincarnation isn't something we achieve by accumulating spiritual knowledge or even good deeds. It's a natural flourishing that occurs when we've integrated all our lessons. If you're resonating with these ideas about spiritual evolution and the subtle challenges of the advanced soul, type humble journey in the comments. Now, I want to go even deeper into how Cayce described the actual transition from repeated incarnations to what comes next. This perspective on mortality isn't meant to be morbid. It's a profound invitation to transformation. When Edgar Cayce encouraged living each day as if it were your last, he wasn't suggesting we abandon our responsibilities or indulge in reckless behavior. Instead, he was pointing toward a fundamental shift in consciousness that changes everything about how we approach our daily existence. Think about it. How differently would you treat the cashier at the grocery store if you knew this was your final interaction on Earth? How much more present would you be with your loved ones? How many petty grievances would simply dissolve in the face of this awareness? This mindset isn't about anxiety or fear, it's about clarity and presence. The hidden truth in Cayce's philosophy is that faithfulness in small, Things creates the foundation for spiritual completion. These seemingly insignificant daily choices, being patient with a difficult colleague, taking time to truly listen to someone in need, or simply performing your work with full attention, these are the building blocks of spiritual maturity. It's not the grand gestures that define our journey, but rather the accumulated weight of thousands of small decisions made with integrity. Now, I want to go even deeper into this legacy of wisdom that continues to influence millions. The Association for Research and Enlightenment wasn't simply established as a memorial to Cayce's work. It functions as a living laboratory where his insights continue to be studied, tested, and applied in contemporary contexts. Located in Virginia Beach, this organization houses over 14,000 documented readings that Cayce gave throughout his lifetime, a treasure trove of wisdom on everything from holistic health to spiritual development. What's remarkable is how these teachings, many delivered nearly a century ago, continue to resonate with people from diverse backgrounds and beliefs. The association doesn't ask for blind faith in Cayce's words, but encourages thoughtful exploration and personal discernment. Visitors can access the archives, participate in workshops, or engage with others on similar paths. The preservation of these materials represents something profound about human knowledge, that certain insights transcend their time and continue to offer value across generations. While scientific paradigms shift and cultural norms evolve, the core wisdom about human potential and spiritual growth remains surprisingly consistent. Many who encounter Cayce's work report experiencing what can only be described as recognition. Not learning something new, but remembering something they've always known at some deeper level. This sensation of familiarity with profound truth is itself one of the phenomena Cayce described in his readings about consciousness and the soul's journey. The association continues to bridge ancient wisdom with contemporary understanding, creating spaces where people can explore these dimensions of existence without dogma or prescription. In an age of information overload and spiritual confusion, having access to such carefully preserved wisdom offers a rare compass for those seeking deeper meaning. If you've ever had that experience of encountering a truth that feels like it awakened something you already knew deep inside, write "inner recognition" in the comments below. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring the profound interplay between compassion and detachment that characterizes souls on the verge of completing their reincarnation journey. This balance represents one of the most challenging spiritual paradoxes we face. When we truly understand it, our entire approach to relationships transforms. Imagine walking through life with your heart completely open to others, suffering yet simultaneously maintaining the wisdom to know when your involvement helps and when it hinders. This isn't cold indifference, it's actually the highest form of love. Mature souls recognize that sometimes the greatest compassion lies in allowing others to navigate their own challenges. They've learned through countless lifetimes that controlling outcomes for others, even with good intentions, often robs them of crucial growth opportunities. Think about it. Haven't your own most significant revelations come through working through difficulties? The same principle applies universally. Souls approaching completion understand this deeply and operate from this awareness in all relationships. They offer guidance and support without attachment to results, creating space for authentic development rather than dependency. What's particularly fascinating is how this balanced perspective emerges naturally from the growing sense of unity that advanced souls experience. As the artificial boundaries between self and other begin dissolving through spiritual evolution, these souls directly perceive the interconnectedness of all beings. This isn't just an intellectual concept, it becomes their lived reality, their moment-to-moment experience of existence. This unity consciousness fundamentally reshapes how they respond to the world. When you genuinely perceive others as extensions of yourself, forgiveness becomes almost automatic. How could you hold grudges against what you recognize as part of your greater self? The journey toward this state represents one of the most profound shifts in consciousness possible during our human experience. What's particularly meaningful about this stage is how it manifests in everyday interactions. These individuals don't necessarily withdraw from the world, quite the opposite. They often remain deeply engaged, but with a remarkable lightness of being. They care intensely while simultaneously trusting the underlying perfection of each soul's unique path. This paradoxical mindset allows them to offer their wisdom without the hidden agenda of controlling outcomes. I've personally witnessed how people at this stage navigate conflicts and challenges with an almost mysterious grace. Their responses often seem counterintuitive at first glance, yet ultimately reveal profound wisdom. If this resonates with your own experience or observations, type Unity Consciousness in the comments. I'd love to know how many of you are noticing these qualities, either in yourself or in remarkable individuals you've encountered on your journey. When we truly begin to understand karma at a deeper level, we experience a profound transformation in how we perceive life's challenges. Think about it. There's a world of difference between seeing something as a debt you must pay versus an opportunity to demonstrate your growth. This shift in perspective is actually where real spiritual evolution happens. I've noticed in my own journey that when I stopped viewing difficulties as punishments for past actions and started seeing them as carefully crafted opportunities for my soul's development, everything changed. The weight feels different, the purpose becomes clearer. It's like graduating from spiritual kindergarten to a more advanced understanding of why we're here. This transformation isn't just philosophical, it manifests in practical ways. When you encounter the same pattern or challenge repeatedly, instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me again?" you begin asking, "What am I meant to master here?" This is the difference between being a victim of your karma and becoming its conscious navigator. Now, about this pursuit of divine will, it's not a one-time decision, but rather a moment-by-moment commitment that requires both humility and courage in equal measure. The humility comes from recognizing that our limited perspective often can't see the full picture. The courage emerges when we make choices that align with our highest understanding of truth, even when they contradict conventional wisdom or personal comfort. People often misunderstand this alignment with divine will as some kind of passive surrender. But I've discovered it's actually the opposite. It's an active, dynamic process of constantly tuning your inner compass to your highest understanding of truth. Sometimes this means making decisions that others simply don't understand. The path of spiritual alignment isn't designed to make you popular, it's designed to make you authentic. What's particularly fascinating is how this ongoing commitment to spiritual alignment creates a feedback loop. As you make choices from this higher perspective, your ability to discern the next right step becomes more refined. It's like developing a spiritual muscle that gets stronger with consistent use. The combination of karmic awareness and alignment with divine will creates a profound foundation for navigating life's complexities with grace. Instead of being tossed around by circumstances or controlled by unconscious patterns, you begin participating consciously in your own evolution. If what I'm sharing resonates with how you're experiencing your own spiritual journey, write "Conscious Navigator" in the comments below. Now, I want to go even deeper into how these principles actually operate within the fabric of our daily existence and relationships. This understanding of Edgar Cayce's perspective on spiritual development reveals something profound about our journey. It's not about reaching some final destination where everything is perfect and complete. Instead, it's about continuous growth and evolution. Cayce was careful not to set up rigid expectations about when a soul would finish its earthly cycles, because that mindset itself can become a subtle trap. Think about the transformation that happens when we shift from asking, "When will I be done?" to "How am I growing today?" It completely reorients our approach to spiritual practice. Many of us fall into the hidden pattern of treating spiritual development like a checklist or a finish line to cross. Cayce's reading suggests something far more nuanced and beautiful. What's particularly fascinating is his warning about the challenges that come as souls advance. It's almost counterintuitive. You might think the path gets easier as you progress, but Cayce suggested something quite different. The more advanced you become spiritually, the more subtle the temptations and self-deceptions become. It's like climbing a mountain where the air gets thinner and the path more treacherous the higher you go. These advanced challenges often don't look like the obvious struggles beginners face. They're not about resisting clear vices or developing basic disciplines. Instead, they often manifest as spiritual pride, a false sense of enlightenment, or the belief that you've arrived when there's still growth to be had. There's something deeply humbling about recognizing that even the most advanced souls must remain vigilant against self-deception. This revelation about the journey forces us to examine our own motivations. Are we pursuing spiritual growth to reach some imagined endpoint, or are we embracing the journey itself as the purpose? Cayce seemed to suggest that living fully in the present moment, embracing the growth opportunities before us now, is the wisest approach to spiritual development. The moment we believe we've made it, spiritually, is often precisely the moment we stop growing. This paradox is at the heart of many spiritual traditions, not just Cayce's work. The truly advanced soul maintains the beginner's mind, open, curious, and humble about how much there is still to learn and experience. Now, I want to go even deeper into how Cayce's understanding of soul progression integrates with his insights about karma and free will, because this connection illuminates why some souls might experience longer earth journeys than others. If any of these ideas about spiritual growth resonating with where you are on your own journey, write "still climbing" in the comments below. Life's journey towards spiritual maturity isn't a linear path, but rather a profound transformation that reshapes our very essence. True maturity doesn't announce itself with credentials or achievements. It whispers through the peaceful presence we cultivate amidst chaos. This internal revolution is perhaps the most telling indicator that we're evolving beyond our former selves. What I've observed in those who embody genuine spiritual wisdom is their remarkable ability to maintain tranquility regardless of external circumstances. They've discovered that peace isn't the absence of storms, but the strength to remain centered within them. This equilibrium doesn't come from controlling the world around us, an impossible task, but from mastering our inner landscape. Humility emerges as another powerful marker of this evolution. The mature soul understands that wisdom begins with acknowledging how little we truly know. There's a beautiful surrender that happens when we release the exhausting need to appear perfect or all-knowing. This isn't weakness. It's authentic strength that creates space for genuine connection. Perhaps most revealing is the fundamental shift from acquisition to contribution. Early in our journey, most of us operate from a place of scarcity and ambition, constantly seeking to prove ourselves, accumulate more, achieve greater heights. The mature spirit has transcended this paradigm, finding fulfillment not in what can be gained, but in what can be given. The revelation that changed everything for me was understanding that this transformation doesn't require escaping life's difficulties. Instead, it involves developing a different relationship with them. When challenges arise, as they inevitably will, the mature response isn't bitter resistance, but graceful navigation. This inner freedom creates a profound ripple effect. Those who have touched this depth of being no longer drain energy from others through constant drama, neediness, or conflict. Instead, they become wellsprings of stability, offering others a glimpse of what's possible beyond reactivity and fear. What's fascinating is how this journey reshapes our definition of success. The metrics that once seemed so important, status, acclaim, possessions, gradually lose their grip as we discover more authentic sources of fulfillment. This recalibration of values marks a pivotal milestone in spiritual growth. If something in this message resonates with your own experience, type "Finding My Center" in the comments below. Now, I want to go even deeper into how this maturity manifests in our everyday interactions with others. The remarkable paradox of Cayce's teachings on inner peace deserves our full attention. When we observe someone maintaining tranquility during life's most turbulent storms, we're witnessing spiritual maturity in action. This isn't about ignoring problems or pretending difficulties don't exist. It's about accessing a deeper dimension of being that remains untouched by external circumstances. Think about those rare individuals you've encountered who seem unruffled by situations that would send most people into panic mode. Their secret isn't some superhuman ability to avoid trouble. They simply inhabit an internal sanctuary that chaos cannot penetrate. It's like they've built an invisible fortress, not to hide from the world, but to engage with it from a place of unshakable centeredness. This transformation in consciousness represents one of the most profound journeys we can undertake as humans. The ancient Stoics understood this when they distinguished between what we can and cannot control. Cayce's perspective takes this wisdom further, suggesting that our spiritual evolution depends on cultivating this inner stability. But here's where things get interesting and potentially confusing for observers. When someone achieves this state of detachment from outcomes and emotional reactivity, their behavior often gets misinterpreted. Their calm response to provocation might look like weakness to those who equate strength with forceful reaction. Their ability to let go of what others desperately cling to can appear as indifference rather than freedom. I've witnessed this misunderstanding countless times in my studies of spiritual masters across traditions. The serene monk gets labeled as disconnected from real life. The non-reactive leader gets criticized for not showing enough emotion. The person who forgives is seen as lacking backbone rather than demonstrating true courage. These misreadings reveal more about our collective mindset than about the spiritually mature individuals themselves. We've been conditioned to associate emotional volatility with authenticity and attachment with caring. The hidden truth is that genuine compassion often operates most effectively from a space of inner stillness. Spiritual detachment actually represents the pinnacle of strength, the ability to act with clear discernment rather than from emotional reactivity. It's the difference between being swept away by life's current versus navigating it with purpose and direction. This mastery over earthly desires doesn't diminish one's humanity, it enhances it. Now I want to explore more deeply what this mature spirituality looks like in everyday life. How do we recognize it in ourselves and others? What practical steps can we take to nurture this inner sanctuary? If you're finding this perspective on spiritual maturity resonates with your own experience or observations, write "inner peace" in the comments below. The journey from material attachment to divine connection is one we all face, but few recognize. I've always been fascinated by how this transformation happens almost imperceptibly. At first, we're taught that success means independence, having your own place, car, financial freedom. We chase these external markers relentlessly, believing they'll bring fulfillment. But have you noticed how that satisfaction, when it comes, often feels hollow? This is the hidden threshold that Edgar Cayce illuminated in his readings. The material independence we've been conditioned to pursue is merely preparation for something far more profound, the soul's natural longing for divine connection. It's like climbing a mountain only to discover that the view, while beautiful, points to an even greater peak in the distance. The revelation here is that spiritual maturity doesn't reject material stability, but rather transcends it. Your soul recognizes that external achievements, while necessary parts of your journey, were never the destination. This shift in perspective creates a profound reorientation in how you experience life's challenges. When Cayce encouraged people to see life's difficulties as meaningful steps in their soul's education, he was offering a framework that completely transforms our relationship with suffering. Imagine viewing that difficult boss, financial setback, or health challenge not as random punishment, but as carefully orchestrated lessons designed specifically for your growth. This mindset creates an entirely different internal dialogue. Instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin asking, "What is this teaching me?" The impact of this simple reframing cannot be overstated. Your struggles become sacred, your challenges become classrooms, and your pain becomes purposeful. I've witnessed this shift in countless people's lives, including my own. There's a moment of profound liberation when you realize that life isn't happening to you, but for you. The universe isn't indifferent to your struggle, it's invested in your evolution. This perspective doesn't make the path easier, but it makes the journey meaningful. Every disappointment, every heartbreak, every moment of confusion becomes part of a greater tapestry of spiritual development. The soul craves this meaning more than it craves comfort. What's particularly fascinating about Cayce's approach is how it bridges the practical and mystical aspects of existence. He never suggested abandoning worldly responsibilities in pursuit of enlightenment. Instead, he offered a way of being fully present in both realms simultaneously, handling mortgage payments and soul growth with equal attention. Now, I want to go even deeper into how this soul education manifests in our daily lives and relationships. The practical applications of these principles reveal themselves in ways that might surprise you, especially when we examine how our relationships serve as mirrors for our own spiritual development. If any of this resonates with your own experience, write "My soul is learning" in the comments below. I'm curious how many of you are consciously experiencing this transition in your lives right now. The most remarkable transformation I've observed in those who complete their spiritual journey isn't some mystical power or supernatural ability. It's the profound shift from a taking mindset to one of giving. This revelation might seem simple on the surface, but its implications run deep through every aspect of our existence. When we're early in our development, we naturally focus on what we can acquire: knowledge, resources, recognition, validation. Yet as we progress, something extraordinary happens. The desire to hoard gives way to an impulse to share. This isn't just altruism. It represents a fundamental recognition that we are channels rather than endpoints in the cosmic flow of energy. Humility emerges not as self-deprecation, but as an honest acknowledgement of our place in the grand scheme. True humility doesn't diminish your worth. It correctly sizes your role in relation to the vastness of creation. When paired with compassion, it becomes a powerful force. You begin to see others' struggles not as separate from your own, but as different expressions of the same human experience. This journey toward completion brings us to what Cayce called the state of at-one-ment, a term I find particularly illuminating. Notice how it differs from atonement, which implies making amends. At-one-ment speaks to being in complete unity with the Creator, a state where the artificial boundaries between self and divine dissolve. In this state of consciousness, you don't just intellectually understand that you're connected to God. You Experience it directly. Every moment becomes an expression of divine love flowing through you. The separation that causes so much suffering begins to heal. Your individual life experiences aren't separate from God's love. They are expressions of it, manifesting in unique ways through your particular human form. What fascinates me about this perspective is how it completely reframes our understanding of life's purpose. We're not here to accumulate, achieve, or even to become enlightened as some kind of spiritual trophy. We're here to recognize what already is, our inherent oneness with all creation, and to express that awareness through how we live. The hidden truth many seekers miss is that completion doesn't add anything to us. Rather, it removes the illusions that prevent us from seeing what was always there. Like clearing smudges from a lens, we don't improve the image. We simply allow it to be seen clearly for the first time. Now, I want to go even deeper into how these principles manifest in practical life circumstances. Because understanding at-one-ment intellectually is one thing, but embodying it through daily choices creates ripples that extend far beyond what we can imagine. If this perspective on spiritual completion resonates with your own journey, write at-one-ment in the comments. I'm curious how many of you have glimpsed this state of being even momentarily. As we progress on the spiritual path, those of us approaching completion of our soul's journey may experience unique signals, whispers from our deeper consciousness that something significant is transforming within us. These aren't dramatic revelations, but rather subtle, intuitive nudges that emerge in quiet moments. Many advanced souls report experiencing a distinct sense of detachment from worldly concerns that once seemed all-important. It's as though the matrix of material existence becomes increasingly transparent, revealing its temporary nature. These intuitions often manifest as a profound inner knowing that transcends logical understanding. You might experience unexpected moments of clarity where the purpose behind your many lifetimes suddenly makes perfect sense. The synchronicities in your life may intensify, creating an elegant tapestry of meaningful connections that couldn't possibly be coincidental. These experiences aren't meant to inflate the ego, but rather to confirm your aligning with your soul's highest trajectory. What's particularly fascinating about this stage is how the nature of spiritual challenges transforms. The temptations that confront advanced souls bear little resemblance to the obvious obstacles of earlier incarnations. Now, the tests become incredibly nuanced and deceptive. The universe, in its wisdom, creates perfectly calibrated challenges that target our most subtle weaknesses, often disguised as spiritual achievements themselves. Pride becomes particularly dangerous territory. There's an almost imperceptible shift that can occur, where genuine spiritual progress transforms into a hidden sense of superiority. "I've overcome what others still struggle with" becomes the silent, often unconscious thought pattern that can derail decades of authentic growth. This spiritual pride operates with remarkable stealth, cloaking itself in the language and appearance of humility while subtly reinforcing separation consciousness. Another sophisticated temptation involves the premature belief that our work is complete. This manifests as a subtle withdrawal of compassionate engagement with others still in struggle, a diminishment of the heart's natural response to suffering. True completion never turns away from others' pain, but moves toward it with even greater capacity for presence and love. The remedy for these refined challenges requires an equally sophisticated form of vigilance. Advanced souls develop a heightened sensitivity to the quality of their own consciousness, noticing the subtle energy shifts that accompany prideful thoughts or spiritual complacency. This inner monitoring system becomes increasingly precise, capable of detecting the slightest movements away from authentic presence. Humility emerges not as a cultivated virtue, but as the natural recognition of our place in the vast unfolding of consciousness. When we truly see the magnificence of existence and the intricate journey of all beings toward awakening, personal achievement naturally assumes its proper perspective. We recognize that our progress isn't personal at all, but part of a collective evolution. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring how these advanced stages of soul development impact our relationships and our understanding of service in the world. There's a profound shift that occurs in how we relate to others when we approach the final chapters of our reincarnational journey. If any of this resonates with your own inner journey, write in the comments, "I recognize these subtle shifts." The journey of your soul doesn't end with checking boxes on some cosmic to-do list. What I've discovered in my exploration of spiritual maturity is that it's less about accomplishment and more about expression, specifically the genuine expression of love. Think about it this way. Would you consider someone who's built an empire but treats others poorly more evolved than someone who lives simply but spreads kindness wherever they go? When we shift our perspective from achievement to expression, everything transforms. The question becomes not, "What have I done?" but rather, "How have I loved?" This subtle but powerful reorientation can dramatically change how we measure our days. I remember encountering this revelation during a particularly challenging period in my life when, despite outward success, something felt fundamentally missing. The hidden truth was that I had been pursuing the wrong metrics altogether. And speaking of metrics, how do we actually gauge our spiritual progress? In practical terms, especially now when we're collectively facing unprecedented global uncertainties, climate concerns, political divisions, economic fluctuations, it's easy to feel overwhelmed or even paralyzed. But these very challenges provide the canvas upon which our souls can paint their most meaningful work. The true measure isn't how many spiritual books you've read or retreats you've attended. It's your capacity to integrate love and service into everyday moments. It's choosing compassion when anger would be easier. It's offering help when you're tired yourself. It's maintaining inner peace amid outer chaos. These quiet decisions create ripples that extend far beyond what we can see. I'm finding that this journey involves a profound inner reconciliation, bringing together our human experience with our divine potential. The blueprint for evolution isn't external. It's embedded within your very being, waiting to be expressed through your unique gifts and perspective. Your soul's journey isn't separate from your human life, it's expressed through it. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring how this understanding transforms our relationship with others and with ourselves. As we develop this capacity for authentic love and service, we naturally begin to recognize the divine spark in everyone we encounter. This recognition isn't just a nice sentiment. It becomes a lived experience that fundamentally changes how we move through the world. The interesting paradox is that the more we embody these qualities, the less attached we become to outcomes or recognition. There's a freedom that emerges when we release the need for external validation and instead find fulfillment in alignment with our soul's purpose. If what I'm sharing resonates with your own inner knowing, type "My soul recognizes this truth" in the comments. I'm curious about how many of you have been feeling this same shift in perspective, perhaps without having words to describe it until now. Now I want to go even deeper into this topic of soul navigation and spiritual homecoming. There's something profoundly reassuring about understanding that no soul is ever truly lost in the vastness of creation. Think about that for a moment. In a universe filled with infinite possibilities and countless paths, every single soul has an inbuilt spiritual GPS guiding it homeward. This isn't just spiritual theory, it's a revelation about the fundamental design of existence. When Cayce spoke of souls finding their way back to the Creator, she was uncovering one of the hidden truths of our spiritual journey. It's like we're all on a cosmic pilgrimage, sometimes taking detours, sometimes traveling through difficult terrain, but always moving in the ultimate direction of home. This perspective transforms how we view life's challenges. Those difficult chapters aren't roadblocks. They're necessary passages in our soul's evolution. The recognition of spiritual signs isn't just a comforting experience. It's confirmation of your soul's authentic alignment. When you resonate with these spiritual markers we've discussed, it's like receiving little cosmic nods of confirmation. Yes, you're exactly where you need to be. Think of it as spiritual breadcrumbs left along your path, not to prevent you from getting lost, but to affirm that you're finding your way exactly as intended. This understanding brings a profound sense of peace and purpose to our existence. The pressure to get it right dissolves when we realize that all paths eventually lead to spiritual maturity, though each journey is uniquely tailored to what our individual soul needs to learn and experience. The timeline isn't important in the grand scheme. Some souls may take longer routes, gathering different experiences, while others might progress more directly. What's fascinating is how this perspective shifts our relationship with time itself. When we embrace the eternal nature of our souls, the urgent demands of our temporary human existence take on new proportions. We can breathe more deeply into our present moment, knowing that our soul's journey transcends the limited time frame of a single human life. The wisdom traditions across cultures have always pointed to this truth, though they've expressed it through different symbols and languages. Whether described as returning to God, achieving enlightenment, or awakening to our true nature, the essence remains the same. We are on a journey of remembrance, of coming back to what we've always been at our core. If you're nodding along as you hear this, feeling a resonance with these ideas that goes beyond intellectual agreement, that's significant. That feeling of, yes, I already knew this somehow, is itself one of the signs we're discussing. Your soul recognizing a truth it has always carried. If this perspective on our eternal soul journey brings you comfort, write, "Finding my way home," in the comments below. Now let's explore how these spiritual signposts manifest differently during various life stages. When we truly understand that life's tests are not punishments but opportunities for growth, our perspective transforms completely. Think about it. Every challenge you face invites you to respond either with love or fear. This is the hidden truth of our existence that few discuss openly. Each time you choose love in difficult circumstances, something profound happens within your soul's journey. I've observed this pattern repeatedly in my own life. When facing obstacles that seemed insurmountable, the breakthrough always came not through fighting harder, but through surrendering to a higher wisdom. This surrender isn't about giving up. It's about releasing the illusion of control that keeps us trapped in cycles of suffering. It's a paradoxical revelation that in letting go, we actually gain everything. What does this look like in practice? It might mean forgiving someone who hasn't asked for forgiveness. It could mean accepting a difficult situation while still taking action to improve it. These moments of conscious surrender become powerful catalysts for inner transformation. And as we progress along this path, we begin to understand that the soul's completion isn't some passive state of bliss where we're relieved of all responsibility. That's a common misconception. Rather, it's an active embrace of our divine role in the cosmic dance. This understanding reshapes our entire relationship with purpose and meaning. Consider how different cultures have expressed this truth. Eastern traditions speak of enlightenment as the beginning of true service, Western mystical traditions describe union with the divine as the point where one's real work begins. These aren't contradictory viewpoints, they're highlighting different facets of the same profound truth. When we reach the threshold of what we might call spiritual maturity, we find ourselves naturally moving toward greater service, not because we're obligated, but because it becomes the most authentic expression of who we are. The boundaries between personal fulfillment and service to others begin to dissolve. We recognize that our individual journey was always meant to lead us back to connection. Now I want to go even deeper into this topic by examining how this understanding changes not just our spiritual outlook, but our everyday decisions and relationships. Because when we integrate these principles into our daily lives, we begin to experience a profound alignment between our inner wisdom and outer actions. If you're resonating with these ideas about surrender and service, write "Surrender leads to freedom" in the comments below. The beauty of Cayce's philosophy lies in his refreshing approach to life itself. Unlike many spiritual leaders who focus solely on the afterlife, Cayce emphasized that our earthly existence isn't just a waiting room for what comes next. He saw life as inherently purposeful, a sacred journey with meaning embedded in every moment. This mindset transformation shifts us from merely enduring our days to engaging with them fully, recognizing that spiritual growth happens right here, right now. When we live with purpose, even mundane activities take on profound significance. That coffee with a friend could be the exact conversation they needed. The small kindness offered to a stranger might create ripples of positive change we'll never witness. Cayce believed these weren't coincidences, but expressions of our souls doing the work they came here to do. This perspective creates a remarkable shift in how we navigate our journey. Instead of postponing fulfillment or meaning until some distant afterlife, we're invited to discover the sacred in our everyday reality. The path becomes as important as the destination, perhaps even more so. What's particularly fascinating is how this mindset reveals the hidden connections between our actions and divine will. Cayce taught that as we develop spiritually, our choices naturally align with higher purpose. It's not about following rigid rules or striving for perfection. Rather, it's an organic unfolding where our authentic selves increasingly reflect universal truth. This alignment doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual revelation that occurs through consistent spiritual practice, self-reflection, and openness to guidance. Over time, we begin to recognize the subtle nudges and synchronicities that signpost our way. Our intuition sharpens, and we find ourselves making decisions that somehow feel right on a soul level. The impact of this teaching is profound because it transforms how we perceive everyday challenges. That difficult colleague, financial struggle, or health issue isn't just an obstacle to overcome. It's potentially a crucial piece of our soul's evolution. Each experience becomes a stepping stone on our path toward unity with the divine. What many find liberating about Cayce's approach is that it removes the artificial separation between spiritual life and regular life. There is no division. It's all one continuous expression of your soul's journey. This integration brings remarkable coherence to existence, where seemingly disconnected aspects of life reveal themselves as part of a greater whole. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by examining how Cayce's understanding of purpose manifests in practical ways. The remarkable thing about these teachings is how they bridge the esoteric with the everyday, creating a roadmap for authentic living that honors both our humanity and our divinity. If you're resonating with these ideas about purposeful living, write in the comments, "Each moment has meaning." I'd love to know how this perspective might be shifting your own outlook. As you navigate these final stages of soul development, you'll notice a profound shift in how you relate to the world around you. Detachment emerges, not as indifference, but as freedom from the compulsive need to control outcomes. It's a beautiful transformation where you still participate fully in life while maintaining inner stability regardless of external circumstances. This peaceful detachment isn't something you can fake or force. It unfolds naturally as your soul matures. You'll find yourself less reactive to life's provocations, less entangled in drama, and more capable of maintaining perspective during challenges that would have previously consumed you. This is the journey behind the scenes of spiritual growth that few discuss openly. The experience of unity becomes increasingly tangible as well. Those invisible barriers between yourself and others begin to dissolve, revealing the interconnected nature of all consciousness. You'll catch glimpses of this unity in unexpected moments. Perhaps while gazing at a stranger across a crowded room and suddenly sensing their essential sameness to you, or during meditation when the boundaries of your individual self seem to melt away entirely. What's particularly fascinating about this stage is the paradoxical relationship between detachment and connection. The more you release your grip on personal outcomes, the more deeply you can connect with the essence of others. This revelation transforms how you move through relationships, creating space for authentic connections, free from manipulation or hidden agendas. The surrender of personal desires represents another profound milestone in soul development. This isn't about suppression or denial of your needs. Rather, it reflects an evolution in what you truly desire. Your personal ambitions gradually align with what serves the highest good, not just for yourself, but for the collective. The boundary between my will and divine will becomes increasingly blurred. This surrender doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual unfolding that often involves periods of resistance and negotiation. You might find yourself bargaining with the universe, willing to release some attachments while desperately clinging to others. This internal dialogue is a natural part of the process, a dance between the ego's hesitation and the soul's knowing. What emerges through this surrender is a profound sense of purpose, aligned with something greater than individual achievement. Your actions become guided not by personal gain, but by what genuinely contributes to the elevation of consciousness. Now, I want to go even deeper into how this alignment manifests in practical terms. If you're recognizing these patterns in your own experience, type "I'm surrendering to the journey" in the comments below. As we venture deeper into the consciousness of our souls, there's something truly remarkable about the way maturity reveals itself through spiritual insight. Cayce's work shows us that as our souls evolve through countless lifetimes, we naturally gain access to memories and wisdom from our past lives. This isn't just some mystical concept. It's a practical unfolding that happens as we progress along our spiritual journey. Think about those moments of déjà vu you've experienced, or unexplainable talents you seem to possess without training, or even irrational fears that have no basis in your current life experience. These fragments of awareness aren't random. They're glimpses through the veil, windows into your soul's extensive history. The more evolved your soul becomes, the clearer these insights appear, giving profound context to your present circumstances. What's fascinating is how this awareness creates a ripple effect in your everyday reality. When you begin to understand that your current challenges aren't isolated events, but meaningful chapters in your soul's longer story, everything transforms. The difficult relationship becomes an opportunity for healing ancient wounds. The persistent struggle becomes the battleground where you finally master a lesson your soul has been working on for centuries. Behind the scenes of our ordinary consciousness lies this extraordinary tapestry of experience that we're gradually remembering. Cayce's readings consistently revealed how this remembering isn't just passive recollection, it's active integration that brings depth and meaning to our current incarnation. This revelation changes everything about how we approach our lives. When we live according to the principles Cayce outlined, we're not just blindly following spiritual rules. We're aligning ourselves with the cosmic blueprint of our soul's evolution. This alignment creates a profound sense of purpose, a compass pointing toward our highest potential. The hidden truth here is that transcendence isn't some distant goal reserved for mystics and saints. It's the natural destination of every soul's journey, and Cayce's teachings offer practical waypoints along this path. By embracing these insights, we gain not just hope, but clarity, seeing beyond the immediate struggles to the greater purpose they serve. I've witnessed remarkable transformations in people who've seriously applied these principles. Their decisions become more aligned with their deeper purpose. Their mindset shifts from fear to faith, from scarcity to abundance, from isolation to connection. The impact ripples outward, affecting not just their own lives, but everyone they encounter. Now, I want to go even deeper into how these principles manifest in real-world scenarios, exploring those moments when spiritual insight meets everyday challenges. The journey toward transcendence doesn't bypass our human experience. It infuses it with meaning and purpose. If what I've shared resonates with your own spiritual journey, write "My soul remembers" in the comments below. If what I've shared resonates with your own spiritual journey, write "My soul remembers" in the comments below. This connection we've built through exploring Cayce's wisdom is exactly what makes these spiritual journeys less solitary and more meaningful. I'd love to hear about your own experiences with soul memories or déjà vu moments if you feel called to share them. And if you found value in these insights about our soul's evolution, consider subscribing to join our community of seekers. We're diving into these profound topics regularly. Before you go, I've created a video exploring how to intentionally access these soul memories through meditation techniques that Cayce himself recommended. Click the link that appears now to continue this exploration together. The wisdom your soul carries is waiting to be remembered.